the reverse is very much the case, I support it.
John Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 2005, while campaigning for election to this Parliament, many people expressed their concern and anger that the then Wairarapa Member of Parliament, Georgina Beyer, failed to represent their views on the issue of prostitution reform. When elected, I undertook to reflect the electorate's views, and I will do that on this legislation, designed to promote the Labour Party's social reform agenda. I trust the instincts of my constituents. They provide a perspective which is not imposed by this House, nor force. Whatever differences there may be among us, as there must be, nothing will shake my conviction from supporting the majority view in my electorate. My judgment on this bill is in step with many constituents I've spoken to on the street, in the shops, the businesses and the bars between Waipawa and Martinborough. Like them, I consider the bill to be a sideshow. There are more serious issues which this House should be focused on. My constituents don't understand why a change in civil marriage is important. They say it will impact on a few, be noticed in their daily life by even fewer people, and have minimal, if any, direct impact on most New Zealanders. In response to my request for constituents' views, I have received several thousand replies by way of phone calls, letters and emails. Constituents who support the bill argue that discrimination of any kind has no place in New Zealand. They say we need to look no further than the laws enacted by this Parliament over many years, which have broken down barriers and opened doors for all who live in this country. They say our Bill of Rights Act affirms that everyone has the right to freedom from discrimination, and our Human Rights Act prohibits discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation. Yet, 2 men or 2 women are prohibited from marrying. They say that in the 21st century, New Zealand, we should not be willing to accept a legal system which effectively casts one group of people into the role of second-class citizens on the grounds of their sexual orientation. Those in my electorate who oppose the bill do so for a range of reasons. They have widely differing political views. They have differing religious beliefs. They are both religious and non-religious views set against the same-sex marriage. For Christians, marriage involves vows before God and witnesses for a man and a woman to commit to one another, to procreate and to raise children. For all religions, marriage is not defined by love. It is defined as a union between a man and a woman for procreation. Many of my constituents believe marriage was introduced into society through religious channels, and religion shows marriage to have anything to do with same partnerships. For these people, it is not possible for marriage to be redefined beyond the boundaries of a woman and a man. They worry that if marriage is redefined once, it could continue to be redefined. They see this bill as legalising by stealth the adoption of children by gay parents. They fear the extension of boundaries to include relationships we do not, as a society, currently condone: polygamous relationships, incestuous relationships. These are very genuine concerns to many of my constituents. Mr. Speaker, there are many arguments from the religious perspective. However, increasingly, marriage is not based on one religion or on a union. Some constituents point out that marriage as a union between a man and a woman and predates even the Bible as a foundation for our society. To them, I'd note that the Roman Emperor Nero, around 900 BC, entered into marriage with a male slave. I see plenty of unions take place in New Zealand between a man and a woman without any religious context. These are sometimes called marriages and use a celebrant rather than a priest. Or sometimes these couples choose to have a civil union. Some couples choose not to acknowledge their relationship in any way other than by living together. Many in my electorate consider same-sex couples to have the same means of acknowledging their relationship as heterosex couples through civil union. Constituents then ask, why do same-sex couples need to reclassify this union as a marriage? A New Zealand civil union offers the same rights and benefits to parties as spouses to a marriage. The only major difference, apart from labels associated, is that unlike a marriage, civil unions are a civil matter, not conducted through a church. It is obvious these issues expose a much deeper question for churches and the wider community. What ought to be the involvement of the state in what are essentially religious and spiritual sacraments? Some constituents would rather there were a complete divorce between the state's recognition of a marriage, civil union, and the church's solemnisation, blessing of matrimony, as is in the case of many European countries. The fact is, a civil union is the same as a marriage, and a rose is a rose, so the legal issue appears mere semantics. Each of us present today are fleeting transients on the stage of this country's history. We do not have the right to sweep aside the traditions which exist in our communities. It is ours alone to deal with as we wish. It is not ours alone to deal with as we wish. This place belongs to every New Zealander. That is why I have asked my constituents how I should represent their views on this issue.
Order, the member's time has expired.
So they want me to vote against the bill.
Jamie Lee Ross.